Alrighty, Roo. Buenas tardes, buenas noches, good afternoon. Okay, we shared. I think we still live. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the English pronunciation masterclass. Today we're getting into some pronunciation. We're talking about. I'm gonna answer your questions. Make sure you guys can see. Okay. Opa. There's Dustin. You guys might hear. You might recognize that voice. Not here today, sadly. We're gonna move on without Senor Dustin. Let's see if we still have the live going. Here we go. All right. What's going on, guys? All right, I can hear myself. I'll turn that off. ¿Cómo están? Lorena, welcome. How's it going? It's good to have you guys here. We're getting into a really great lesson today. We're going to talk about. I'm going to give you an English pronunciation masterclass. As you can see, Dustin's not here today. He's in Buenos Aires at the moment. So if you guys are in town, you guys should try to find him, meet up with him. He'll be back in LA this weekend. So we're talking about a lot of things. I want to be able to answer your questions today. Also, we have a little bit less, need to dialogue and give examples. But the general idea here is to give you a really solid perspective on English pronunciation. Raquel, what's going on? Nico, Gachinha is in the house. I love that name. Nico, welcome back. Everyone's here. This is awesome. Good to see you guys. Sol, bienvenida. Welcome. Everyone is settling in nicely, which is nice. We're going to get into some lessons in just a second here. Some business real quick. I'll be quick about this. Obviously, Dustin's not here. It'll be me today, filling in. But I do this a lot, so trust me, it'll be just fine. I also wondered if Lorena or Luis are in the house. I didn't see you guys come in, but just in case you're watching this, Lorena, I think Escobar is here. Luis, if Luis is here, I wanted to get in touch with you guys. Oh yes, no more caca for Lorena. We're moving up. Vamos. It's kind of a good feeling when you guys move up. Remember, if you're starting off, if you're just beginning, everyone starts off as the poop emoji. And for a couple of months, you have the first whole month, is the poop emoji, and then you get the deuce, the peace sign, which Lorena has now graduated to. Congratulations, everyone. We also have these emojis. Don't forget about these. We forget to explain sometimes, but the thank you or prayer emoji, we use this if we're showing gratitude. I'll try to use it here. We have the mind blown emoji when you guys learn something you never knew before. So feel free to use that. And we also have, what's the third one? The smirk emoji. No, gosh. It's the hands and the mind blown. You got it. Do you guys know the third one? I'm now. Yep, that's right. It's the questioning, the hand on the chin. It's the what are you talking about? And you might have to use that today. I'm going to be watching here just in case to see. Lorena's got it. Thanks, Lorena. And also, if you can message me privately, maybe I'll try to find you after. Send me your email address. I'll be able to add you to the list so we can get you those PDFs. Anyone who wants to join this gold package, we now have these PDFs that are prepared before the lesson. We have a shared Google Drive. It's so simple. We just add your email and you guys can access those before the class even starts. Today, we actually don't need a PDF because we're going to write out sentences. I'm going to talk about pronunciation and we're going to explain this analysis. And I'll just write them in the chat. So don't worry if you're worried about the PDFs. Those of you who have paid for that course. We'll have those for next week for sure. A tip of the day. How about we get into the tip of the day? Every week we try to, introduce the lesson with a fun, exciting, quick tip of the day, which is usually a pronunciation reminder. Hey, by the way, this is this. It could be an idiom or a phrase that we use often in English. It could be a slang term to try to sound cool with your friends on the street. But today, it's going to be better than any of those things. Today, I'm going to share with you guys, you fine people, the first thing that you should be practicing right now, before anything. If you're not sure about the language, if you're still learning vocabulary, still working on your accent, there's really one thing that will help you and to narrow your focus in the practice. I'm going to share that with you in less than a minute. The reason why this is important is we have so many resources, too many resources, right? Too many options for YouTube videos, too many lessons, teachers, books, audio. It's just like, it's tough. And so I want to share with you this focus, because I have this. I study 5 different languages, even more than I actually speak, and actively trying to practice these things to be more efficient. All right. So being more efficient here is the idea, and I want you to be on the same page, as we say. So here it is. The first thing you need to be practicing above all is that first response to the question you're going to be asked. And this might be introducing yourself. It might be greeting somebody. When I speak Spanish, for example, I start off every time by saying the same kind of thing. Che, ¿cómo andas? ¿Todo bien? Che, ¿cómo andas? Che, and the first mind, it just comes out, ¿cómo andas? I don't know, maybe you can say, ¿qué sé? ¿Todo bien? It comes out Argentinian, it comes out like that. And someone's like, pero, where are you from? No? It's like, che, ¿cómo andas? You say, che, ¿cómo andas? It's like you're taking away all these doubts of where this guy's from. And, you sound the part, you practice the pronunciation, and people immediately think, he must be from here. She must be from here. They must have studied or learned here, and especially if you're living in a foreign country. If not, it doesn't matter. But that pronunciation is the first thing that we hear. Give me some mind blown if this is new for you. Give me some of this, not sure what the heck you're talking about, if that's not clear. So the idea of answering a question that people are going to ask you. For example, where are you from? What do you do for work? Why do you speak English? Why are you learning English? Who are you? You have to introduce yourself. What does it sound like? All right? What are the words that you use? And what does that actually sound like? What's the pronunciation? Those 2 factors, pronunciation and the words that you choose, that's going to make a huge difference, right? If I use a different type of Spanish and I said, ¿qué dices, tío? No, pues nada. I don't know, whatever. I'm just messing around. But that would be like, okay, pero este tipo, if he talks this way, it kind of sounds like from a different place. He's using different words. He said, dices, we don't even want to deal with that. So it's like, there's, no offense. Does anyone here from Spain? The point is that sound is what people hear first. So think about this. And what I'd like you guys to do for today, if you want to write in the comments here in the chat, what is your first line? What do you normally say? What's going on? So we have this first challenge, which is like, think about the first thing that you say in English, whether it's an answer to a common question or it's just the way that you greet people. What do you say? I'm trying to think of what I say in English, because I don't have a go-to thing. I don't need to have one. I'm a native speaker. This is the glories of being a native speaker. You don't need to prepare. But surely if I thought about it and I listened to myself or even recorded my own voice, this would help a ton. I don't know if you ever do that, but we don't have to get into it here. But if you want to write in the chat what your sentence is or what your phrase is, then maybe it'll be helpful for me to read it for you. And this will tie in together with the lesson that we have prepared for today, which is, so that's basically the tip. Hopefully that's clear. If it makes sense, give me a little bit of a, thank you, Ruben. Now I know what to focus on, Ruben. It's the first thing that you're going to say in that language. All right, think about what that is. If you don't know what that is, just pay attention to your own use of English. Whenever someone asks you a question, you say, oh yeah, they do ask me that all the time. I never thought about that. I should practice that. I should rehearse that. It sounds cheap. It sounds like you're cheating, but you're preparing. It's different, you know? So the preparations are huge. And if you just think about that, you don't have to study vocabulary about vegetables or specific utensils that you might not need. But that first impression is huge. So today is going to be about the big picture. It's going to be about the big picture of pronunciation, about reading. What's going on? So that we have the introduction of a new technique that I want to share with you guys. And the technique is called a Ben Franklin exercise. Has anyone ever heard of this term, a Ben Franklin exercise? Perhaps you know, Maricel, what's going on? Perhaps you know the guy, Ben Franklin, was one of the founding fathers of the United States. It doesn't really matter who he is. He has nothing to do with this exercise. He's on the $100 bill. But anyway, the Ben Franklin exercise is a technique, it's a strategy, it's a framework on how to analyze any sentence or word or utterance, speaking of a native speaker, even if it's just in text. The idea is we take a sentence, which I'll give you in a moment, and I'm going to read the sentence naturally. I'm going to read it quickly, I'm going to read it slowly, I'm going to read it medium speed. I'm going to go through the sentence, and we're going to just analyze every detail of the sentence. And this is going to allow you to understand what's happening not only within one word, but how the words connect among themselves in the sentence. All right, so it is something of a different approach to pronunciation. Maybe you don't know what to study when you're thinking about, okay, I want to improve my pronunciation. What do I do to improve my pronunciation? I could just watch shows, or I could listen to music, right? But it doesn't really work that way. You can't just, have it around and it just oh, that's working for me. You need to actively understand what's happening. What are your habits? What are the things that you actually say wrong, or what needs to change, and what is the correct way in the end? And when we talk about these analyses, we're talking about three different aspects. The first one has to do with sounds. Individual sounds, or we call them phonemes in the business of linguistics. And the sounds are, again, the most, the individual, the smallest units of sound that we have are these phonemes. So a T sound or a vowel sound. It's just vowels and consonants, that's all it is. And sometimes we don't have the same sounds from Spanish to English. Sometimes we have the same exact sounds. So you won't talk about M in English, because M is the same exact sound in Spanish, every Spanish. In fact, most languages have the same M. You close your lips and you say, and that's all there is. Well, that was weird, but I think we're back. Let me know if you guys can see me still. Hopefully you're still here. Don't leave. Can you guys hear me? Everyone back on? Sorry about that. Gosh, we've had a little bit of a hiccup with YouTube sometimes, so everything's charged, everything's good. I'm not sure why. Anyway, I was into it, you guys. I was interrupted by silly applications. So I was just saying, we're talking about the analysis of anything in English being broken down into three categories. The first one is sounds, vowels, consonants. The second one is actually something we call rhythm or stress, which is, maybe these are simple terms, rhythm and stress, but what this has to do with is where do you emphasize the syllables in the word and in the sentence, and where is the most important syllable, period. And it's important to understand that there are rules, that there's a structure. You can even anticipate. Can you hear me overdoing it? You can even anticipate where to put the stress. And if you can tell, tell, there's some pattern to it. If you can't tell, there's some pattern to it. So the rhythm is really important. Lorena mentioned the website Youglish. Yes, Youglish is fantastic. We've told you about Youglish in past videos. It is a fantastic resource, youglish.com, as Lorena just typed in here. It's such a cool resource for listening. What it does is basically you put in a word and you can search for a phrase spoken by native speakers in YouTube videos across the internet. And maybe we'll do a live video where we use Youglish, or maybe an actual YouTube video where Dustin and I go through and use Youglish to try to teach language. I think that would be helpful. So I'm glad you guys tried it out. Anyone else try Youglish? I'm thankful for it. I hope you are. So the rhythm is important. The rhythm has to do with not only the individual word, where to stress the individual word, but in the sentence, where is the importance, the content? Where's the message and the meaning? And in Spanish and English, they work the same way. We have the same rules. You're basically stressing nouns, verbs, adjectives, negation, important words. And we can talk about this with the example in just a few minutes. But I want to tell you the third thing, the third category of this list, after sounds and rhythm, has to do with something called linking, which is like, what's linking? Linking is the idea of connecting words together, pronouncing words in a sequence. Instead of hearing a word in isolation and another word and then a word, understanding that we don't talk in words, we talk in phrases, we talk in sentences. And the last sound of a word connects to the first sound of the next word. That makes sense. So we're always thinking about what's the connection? How do I move? How do I keep going? And that's what helps us to pronounce the sentence natively and connected. It's not about speed. It's about connection. Tweet that. Write that down. It's not about speed. It's about connection. In more ways than one. But you know what I mean? You don't have to speak fast in English. In fact, sometimes it's bad. I'm trying to speak slower today, in fact, if you can tell. Speaking fast it seems cool. It's like, oh, I didn't understand you. That's cool. Like, who wants to be misunderstood? Not I. I think it's important to understand what that difference is. Being able to talk fast is one thing, but connecting the words is a whole different process. Let's get into it. We're already almost 20 minutes in here, but I'm going to give you guys a sentence, all right? I'm going to write the sentence out in 3 lines, and I'm going to read the first line a few times. The first part of the sentence, it's going to be in 3 parts. The second part I'll also read a few times, and the third part. So it'll be individual parts of the sentence, but let me finish the whole thing and I'll write the whole thing out so you can see what's coming. Here it is. Pardon my typing time here, but this is actually a true sentence, by the way. All right, so the whole sentence reads like this. A lot of people ask me if it's possible to sound like a native speaker. That's the sentence. If you're not reading this in the chat, that's the sentence we're talking about for the next few minutes. maybe several minutes, maybe the rest of the class. There's so much going on in this sentence. It's crazy. So a lot of people ask me if it's possible to sound like a native speaker. What are we doing here? The whole point is that you are listening to me. I'm going to go back and read them line by line, part by part. The idea is that you're listening to a native speaker say this connected. I'm not changing the pronunciation. This is important. Remember we talked about prescriptive and descriptive pronunciation in the past, where prescriptive is this like overly pronounced words where it sounds really overdone and nobody speaks. And then you have the descriptive, which is a little bit more flowing, kind of how you hear people talk day to day. And so what I'm doing here is I'm slowing the sentence down. No, I'm sorry guys, I'm not sure what that is. Hopefully you can see me back. Just hopefully that's the last time. We'll hopefully finish up before. Perdón. I don't know what happens here. At least it lets me come right back without starting a new live. We're here. We're in the sentence. Let's not waste time. A lot of people ask me if it's possible to sound like a native speaker. I'm going to go through line by line and I'm going to say this sentence slowly, but without losing the true pronunciation. So I'm letting you in on this special secret here. This is how native speakers talk. And here it goes, the first line. What I want you guys to do, by the way, is listen for something that stands out. Listen for something that you would not expect to say yourself. Watch my mouth. This is important. Watch my mouth. Make sure it looks good. Watch my beard. No, don't watch. Watch the mouth. Watch for different pronunciations, shapes of mouth. And here we go. A lot of people ask me. A lot of people ask me. A lot of people ask me. A lot of people ask me if it's possible. If it's possible to sound, if it's possible to sound like a native speaker, like a native speaker. A lot of people ask me if it's possible to sound like a native speaker. Okay. I love this. You guys are writing in like different spellings of words. Anything that you notice, I want you guys to write it down. What do you hear that sounds weird? What do you hear that sounds, maybe you already know this about native North American English. Gachinha writing alada, like alada. Lada, like L-A-R-A. I love that. Alada, I would even write as one word. Alada. A lot of people ask me. So let's talk about sounds. We don't have to go in order necessarily, but all three of these components are relevant. So talking about sounds first. What sounds stand out? Yeah, the pronunciation of the O in lot, a lot. We talked about that a few weeks ago with John's mom got bronze. If you guys are just new, the O in English, we pronounce like an ah when it's stressed, most of the time. So a lot is not an exception. Is not an exception. A lot of people, and we also have this. We always have this the T between vowels, which we talked about in the past. We can also go into in the future. T between vowels sounds like Spanish R. So we say alada, lada, lada, and not lada with an English D. Lada, alada, or a lot of. Don't pronounce that as a T. And the same thing with native. Veronica, hear this, native. So the T between vowels is like a Spanish R. We call this a flap or a tap in linguistics. Native. You might notice also the word possible. Let's stick with the first line though. A lot of people ask me, what's up with the ask? What vowel is that? Ask. It's not ask. It's not esk. It's kind of like ask. You know, it almost has this like combination of ea, ask. But you also, I heard, or someone wrote here, Agachinha wrote, ask me without the K. You hear that? When I say the word ask me, no se escucha la K. No, we don't say the K. Ask. ask me, ask me, ask me. So it's almost like this, like, ask me. I would write it out like this. And the reason why, there's a logical explanation for this, has to do with the fact that there are 3 consonants in a row. S, K, M. And we often remove the middle one when that happens. Ask me, ask me. You just don't hear it. It's just not ask me. If you do pronounce it, todo bien. You don't have to worry. It's not a problem. Ask me. You just can tell the difference. So a lot of people ask me, really common word, right? How many times do you say, she asked me a question, he asked me something? And how many times do you say, me? Sorry, this is not making fun. So this is for you also. Whenever we joke about Argentinian accents here, it's to instruct, it's to show you the difference between certain sounds, not to make fun. Tamo junto, as we say. But the importance is the word ask. How often do we say this? Ask me, ask you, ask her. Now, if you have a word that has a vowel after it, ask her, maybe what happened here, ask us, how about the word us instead of ask me? You definitely need to pronounce the K. Ask us, ask ga. Very soft, but still there. You can't just say ask us. But ask me is okay. So a lot of people ask me if it's possible here in the impossible, just like in a lot, possible to sound like a native speaker, like a native speaker. Skere, possible to sound. I'm not sure what that was about. Possible to sound like a native speaker. Let's talk about rhythm for a second and maybe introduce you what the heck this is. What is this all about? Rhythm has to do with where's the emphasis in the sentence. If I write this out as maybe capitalizing the syllables that are emphasized, it might look something like this. And you let me know if you guys disagree. All right, so I've rewritten this sentence here now, for those of you who can't see the chat, as capitalizing the syllables that I'm about to emphasize. A lot of people ask me if it's possible to sound like a native speaker. Moving my head forward so you know where I'm stressing the word. Hopefully that helps you too. That's actually not a bad technique to practice by yourself. Move your body with the sound. Feel the difference between a stressed syllable and an unstressed syllable. A lot of people. Another thing that we might notice about the word, the phrase "a lot of people," is that you might not hear the letter F in the word "of." A lot of people. It might happen just like a lot of people. A lot of people. Maybe you can think of it as Paul, a lot of people. But that's definitely a common descriptive pronunciation. Dropping the F in the word "of" is something we do all the time. And the reason why we do this in this particular situation is because the F comes before another consonant. If you guys don't know that word consonant, consonante, que no es una vocal, all the other letters of the alphabet, that's not A, E, I, O, U. So you see a lot of people has a P after the "of, you got to drop that F. It's even easier to pronounce. A lot of people, a lot of money, a lot of time. But if I said a lot of animals, I got to link the F to the vowel. That's what linking is all about. A lot of animals, but a lot of people, going straight to the P instead of pronouncing the F. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. I know. You're thinking, this is too much. It's too much information, man, for one day. Slow it down. But I want you to be able to see this analysis. This can be used in any sentence, any word, where you look at the sounds, You look at the stress, and you see what changes in the pronunciation because of that. So let's talk about what changes here. Notice that the syllables that are stressed are the easy ones. Lot, people, ask, we talked about already. Possible, sound, you guys got this. Native and speaker. Make sure you know that native is pronounced with an A vowel. But those are the easy ones. The parts that usually non-native speakers will mess up are the unstressed syllables. Let's look at these for a second. A lotta. Remember this difference between John and John's mom and one fun, one, wan. Wonder, wander. Very small opening differences. But a lotta is not a lotta. It's not the same sound. A lotta people, if you still have an accent and you're just changing the whole a to a Spanish a, it won't work. The unstressed syllables change and they become more neutral, they become more, it gets different from Spanish vowels. So we don't say a lara, but rather a lotta, a lotta. So I might write this in American English like this. The UH, the letters UH often represent the sound as you remember. A lotta instead of a lotta. Very small differences, but we'll keep going. A lot of people ask me, nothing really exciting there. If it's possible, connect those two words. This is a little bit of linking just to hear those together. Like a native, if it's possible. These two together are really, really, really important. If it's possible, it's almost like they're one word. Like a. Obrigado. Gracias. This is the stuff that we talk about every week. I love this stuff. I want to share this with you guys. If you guys are into this, we can talk about this all day, all week. We'll try to get you. This is why we wanted to do the WhatsApp group, because it's like, if you guys are into it, you want to learn this stuff, there's so much to talk about, and there's little details that can really make you sound native without doing much work. It's like, okay, there's the stressed syllable. That's got to be this. That's got to link together because that's a vowel. This is kind of the mindset that you develop as a student of ours here at Lux Lenguas, linguistics. All together, we're all trying to spread the language love. So let's talk more about this rhythm and linking and see how this ties together and answer any questions you might have. If it's possible to sound, I'm going to call your attention to the word to. Here I don't say if it's possible to sound. To sound, no. If it's possible to sound. To sound, to sound, to sound. So we don't ever pronounce those words like we would pronounce them by themselves. They are a product, or they are a piece of the bigger pie, the bigger cake. So to sound, because sound is more important than to. So we've talked about that early on. We talked about the word to changing to t. The same reason why we say want to, wanna, or gotta go. It's because this word to is we call a function word. It's not important for the content, for the meaning. So we change the pronunciation. We reduce it. We call that reducing or neutralizing. It sounds more neutro, más, less marcado, less pronounced. So to sound. And the same thing with laika. Laika turns into this like a native speaker. Like a native. It is not native or native. Ojo, you don't say native, it's native. I would spell that one like native. Anabela's falling in love with the class. I love it. I'm falling in love with you guys too. This is really fun. I like the questions you guys are having. I like the perspective you bring, the spellings that you guys are seeing, you're hearing. This is awesome. What if I spelled the word native like this? I like that with a D, but even with an R, if you're a Spanish speaker, Portuguese speaker, these are closer to a native. And that's what we say. That word is kind of hard, right? It's not a natural thing to say native from native, You would see that as native or native, but this is just using Spanish sounds in English. This sentence is actually, this word native makes sense. You have a lot of words that have similar patterns, but sadly we don't have time to get into all of that today. But this is a Ben Franklin exercise. You just went through your first Ben Franklin exercise. Congratulations. Yes, feel proud, feel happy. It's Tuesday, it's Taco Tuesday. That's why I'm wearing my taco shirt, by the way, if you guys can't see. About to get some tacos after this. And this is how I would love for you guys to understand the English language. In fact, this is how you analyze any language, to be honest. If you have a system of rhythm, that is, or linking, most languages do. Spanish does. All the languages I study, Hebrew, Japanese, Korean, they all have the same type of connection. And so, yeah, certain sounds that don't exist in your native language, in Spanish, it's harder to write it out. So we try to approximate those spellings. And so, I like that. I fixed the getting in love, falling in love. I didn't even mention anything, but you fixed it yourself. But yeah, it's this process of kind of switching your brain from Spanish to English. And that doesn't mean you have to think in English all the time, but it might mean developing an understanding that's different from the sound system of Spanish, because Spanish is limited. There are just fewer sounds in Spanish. We know that for a fact. And if you can understand these differences, we can identify where in the word or where in the sentence you're going to see them, you're going to be killing it, as we say. So thank you guys for joining today. Next week we'll be back with Dustin. I'm glad you guys came. If there's any questions, we'll maybe have another minute for questions. If you have questions, leave them here. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure, again, going through this pronunciation stuff. We'll maybe continue this type of learning in the future, but it is, there's so much going on. I know maybe it's too much for you, but hopefully it was enough to get you motivated to keep practicing. And we'll keep it going next week, next Tuesday. If you're in the gold package, we have a live coming up in the middle of the month. We'll update you on that. Lorena, if you can email us, or if you can email thedustinluke@gmail.com. You guys can all email if you want to. Don't email all to him. But if you guys put in, Lorena, send your email address to him, and we'll add you to that list. And everyone else who wants to join the gold, do it. We'll be waiting for you. And I'll repeat it one more time, Anabela. If you guys notice in the YouTube join, when you go to Unirse or to join, it gives you an option for three different course options. One is this silver package, which is awesome. Every week we give you live classes here on YouTube. And then we have the gold package, which adds a visual component. I'm going to send you PDF documents before the class starts so that you can follow along and actually see the list of words beforehand. We also add a fifth live, so an extra live, which is going to happen in the middle of the month before Dustin goes back to Atlanta, and the platinum package, which adds not only audio to the PDF, so you can listen to them in your car, you can listen to them wherever. You also have a WhatsApp group with the two of us in the group, and we're just answering questions about pronunciation and speaking all month. For a whole month we do this. So yes, we'd love to see you guys there. You just go to join and then scroll down. There's a few different options on that window, and you can upgrade your package. You can try it out for a month, see what you think. Try it out. You can always go back down, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful week. This week is very difficult, no? We talk about a lot of different things, but it's not too bad. Just got to work that in. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you guys soon.